everybody, I'm Jennifer Tryon. Thank you for tuning in to the first part of my summer sewing series where we are sewing up t-shirts. Cute lemon t-shirts, cute confetti t-shirts. I even just literally finished sewing, I'm going to show you, finished sewing my own shirt that I'm wearing today. And look at the cute little cuff I put on here. This is what you can do when you get your own fabric and you know how to make a t-shirt yourself. You know what? In all likelihood, you might be wearing a t-shirt right now. And if you are, I want you to just flip the seams and come look. See this? Flip your own shirt inside out. You're going to see this seam right here. That's the serger. And then this right here, this double stitch, you probably have one of those on your t-shirt or sweatshirt too. Whatever you're wearing, take a look. That is the cover stitch machine. And I'm going to show you how to do both today. And everything I'm doing, you can do if you just have a regular sewing machine too. You're just going to use a stretch stitch, and if you want that double look, then you can use a regular stitch at the end and use a twin needle. But making a t-shirt with a serger is so much faster. Let me tell you, it's sort of like the microwave. You can cook soup on the stove, but boy, is the microwave fast, and it saves you a lot of steps, and that is exactly the same as a serger. Especially if you've been wanting to work with knits, having a serger, even a cover stitch machine is really, really helpful if that's what you're thinking of. So thank you for tuning in today. We're going to get to t-shirt making in just a minute. Let's do a little business. First of all, I want to know where you're watching from, so leave me a little message. And I'm going to give away a bundle of fabric from Funky Monkey, a bundle of knit from, it's Michael Miller fabric, and it's super cute. It's in the Sarah Jane collection. I should have brought it in here. I think it's in there, Lel. If you want to go and grab it, it's navy. And I'm going to give that away. So all you need to do is like this post and share it. We want lots of people tuning in. So the more you share, especially if you're in any great sewing groups, I'd love it if you shared it there. So tomorrow, are we getting some people tuning in today? Oh, you're not looking at Facebook. Oh, good, we have some people tuning in. Maybe come in here.
We got 20 tweets.
That's great, that's great. So please like and share, and then we're gonna get lots of people tuning in. And a special thank you to Funky Monkey Fabrics, who is giving all of you guys 10% off knits. So all you need to do, if you're wanting to sew some summer knits, is grab some from Funky Monkey, and you can get 10% off with the code TRYONSUMMER10. So yeah, cool. This is what we're giving away. Woo! Look at that. This very oh so cute. This is Magic by Sarah Jane, and I'm going to send you this exact yard. So if you like and share, you will be in it to win it. I won't cut this one up. Instead, I'll cut up its matching one, and we'll get to sewing the t-shirt. Because you literally can make a t-shirt in less than an hour. Now, I'm going to put a caveat out there. That does not include taping your pattern together. That is a bit of a process on its own. So if you're downloading the pattern, so I'm using the classic ringer tee from Peekaboo Patterns. That's the one that I'm using today. You can download that pattern easily. It's a PDF, which means you're going to print it out on your home computer. So you're going to get a pattern like this, and you're going to have to cut it out and tape it together, which is what I've done. That takes a little bit of extra time, so I'm not including that in my hour countdown. And I'm hoping you guys won't hold me right to, maybe it'll be done in 50 minutes, you never know. So what you want to do to get started is obviously wash, maybe not obviously, I'm going to tell you. You want to wash your knits. Because I made some nightgowns for the girls like a couple weeks ago. I even posted it on my Instagram. So you can check out my Instagram if you're not already following me, please do, because there's lots of crafty escapades going on there. So I posted the shots of the kids and their nightgowns, but they promptly shrunk. Thankfully they were nightgowns, they just shrunk up. So their skinny little bodies still fit in the fine, they're just a little bit shorter. So please, pre-wash your fabric. That's what I've done here. So when you're laying out a knit, you want to pay special attention to where the salvage is. That's where all of the instructions are. And you want to pay attention to which way the grain goes. Lots of knits will stretch seemingly all ways, but there's probably one way that's a little stretchier than the other, and you want to pay attention to that. And most patterns will show you which way they want your stretch to go. So you can see on this one, it's telling me right here which direction the stretch should go. So I can pull it and really figure out, okay, I need to lay my pattern this way, or I need to lay my pattern the other way. And so what I do is, with a t-shirt, you're going to cut it out on the fold. So make sure everything is nice and flat. Okay, leave me a little comment. Has anyone ever made a t-shirt before, or is anyone going to try this, or are you just tuning in to be entertained to see if I can really pull this off? I want to hear from you if you've made a t-shirt before. Because I'm going to tell you, once you start making them, you'll love it. Well, there's one thing you might not love about the process. At least this is what I'm finding. Pattern sizes are not exactly what you would kind of equate to your size being in the store. This is my experience. In the store, I would go and probably buy a large. Yeah, medium if it was like generous, but mostly I'd be a large. Can I just tell you that this shirt that I made, which, look at the band, it's so cute. 1+, I made a large. I did my measurements, but I ignored them. And I was like, no, I'm not making a 1+. I'm making large. And it was too small. So there you go. So don't be shy with with yourself. There's not going to be a tag in this photo that matters whether or not you are a large, a 3+, 5+, doesn't matter. No one will know. There's no tag. Even you won't know. Okay, so when I'm cutting patterns, I like to use the rotary cutter. Maybe it's just the quilter in me, but this is how I like to do it. I feel like it's far straighter with the rotary cutter to cut than with the scissors. It's also much faster, and I like to use the ruler as the edge. So if you're a quilter, you'll probably already have a rotary cutter, a mat. Maybe you already have pattern weights. So I'm not pinning this pattern down. Instead, I'm using these little, can you see it? Look, they're like little hacky sacks, little bean bags, and they're weighted. And you could make your own if you're a sewer, just put some rice in them, but I can send you a link too. They're not very expensive, but they're really handy to have. And I'm just sort of freehanding this around the neck and then bringing my ruler back in at the top. And you can use your ruler around the arm just to kind of keep everything in place. But again, I'm freehanding around the arm here. And that's a pretty fast cutout and pretty accurate. Look how nice and straight it is when you use the rotary cutter and the ruler. So I'd highly recommend rotary cutter, ruler, and mat, even if you're not a quilter, even if it's just for knits. Okay. So I cut out some ahead of time so that we wouldn't have to cut out every single piece. That's going to help me in my hour, or beating my hour. But that's the magic of doing this for you guys. So you're going to have a front and a back. The back is going to have less of a high neck. So make sure you pay attention to that on your pattern, because sometimes patterns just have one piece and then they expect you to follow this dip for the front. So just pay attention to that. Sometimes they have two pieces, a front and a back. Sometimes you have to follow the dip, so be aware on your pattern for that. Was this one a front and back, or you had to follow the dip? I can't remember. Front and back?
Follow the dip.
Yeah, follow the dip. So if you're going to download the Peekaboo pattern like I have here, or sorry, not the Peekaboo Pattern Shop one, the ringer tee, you got to follow the dip. Otherwise, you'll end up with two backs. So, word to the wise. Okay, so right sides together, and this is going to, and you can see this one dips down a little bit more to make a room for the neckline. Always right sides together. Start with the shoulders. So we're going to sew two sides here. We're going to sew here and here. And then we're going to add the arms, but not underneath. And then we'll finish with the side seams. And then we'll get to the fun sort of cover stitch stuff that's kind of like cool and different. How many of you have used a cover stitch machine? That's what I'd like to know. I get tons of questions on cover stitch machines, like, should I get one? Is it worth it? I don't know. I have a serger. What's the difference? Let me just pull this apart. I can tell you the serger, of the two, you need the serger first. That would be my advice. I'm going to have the serger, this exact serger, the 4DLB, the Janome 4DLB. It's going to be on TSC on, what is it, September 24th? Yes. 25th. 25th. And so if you're looking to spread out the payments, that's great. TSC will let you do that. That's if you're watching from Canada. TSC's in Canada. So yeah. All right, so what I'm doing here is I'm just serging right across the shoulders. So I'm going to show you right up close exactly what that looks like, because the serger's kind of cool. Let me just, I won't start yet. Let me just show you the inside of the serger here. So I want to make sure when I'm serging that I've got the knife activated. Over here you can see right inside, there's a little knife, and I'm activating it.
We're good. Sorry, I had a little Dutch.
And we're activating it, and you can take that off too. So I like to take the knife off when I'm doing like a neckline, but keep it on for everything else, and that's going to cut some of those more jaggedy edges right off. So now when I run this through, it's cut off that edge and left me with that perfectly serged. And the thing with the serger is that it allows the thread to stretch. If you were to do this on a regular sewing machine, this would stop and the thread would break because the fabric would be too stiff. Serging allows the knit fabric to maintain its elasticity. Okay, so let me do one more for you here. So I'm going to put right sides together on the other side of the sleeve. Oh, this is the shoulder. Bring it over. And I'm using all 4 threads here. You could use 3 if you want, but I just keep all 4 going for lots of stretch. And the serger is different than a sewing machine too. You can see, unlike a sewing machine, you can sew right off the end. In fact, you should. You want to have this little tail right off the end. And that's a perfectly serged seam. Okay. So now I'm going to attach the armhole, or the arms. So this is a child-sized shirt, just so you know, because I can never make enough t-shirts for the kids, honestly. They grow out of them like every 2 days or ruin them somehow. So use your less expensive fabric on them and your more expensive, like, organic cottons on you. So, all right, for the arm, sometimes the pattern will have a little like notch at the top, and then you know exactly where the center is. But if it doesn't, just fold in half. You're gonna want to do this for both arms, and you can either just finger press so you get a little bit of a wrinkle there, so you can see where the center is, or just put a little pin exactly where the center is. That way you can line it directly up with the shoulder seam, because that is our center that we're working from. And we're always working right sides together and sort of sewing this inside out. The sewing really doesn't get like, you don't get that aha wow moment until the very end and you turn it right side out, because you're mostly sewing inside out. So I can put a pin. I pin the arms. I don't pin lots of other places, but I do pin the arms. And that's just because I don't want to be like, wah, you know, you don't want to be wah armed. So pin the arms, just line the edges up, and it's concave and convex, so you have to do a little bit of like matching up here. And there isn't different pins, at least I haven't found, for sewing with knits. I just use my regular sewing pins that I use mostly for quilting. So if any of my paper crafting friends are watching, especially from we have a TSC show next week. August 1st, lots of paper crafting stuff coming up on TSC. So you can tune in for that. And the sewing show will be in September. They're going to have that great Skyline S9 on again for a great price. That's that embroidery machine that does all that fancy, like the kids' drawings and the handwriting. They're also going to have a new heavy-duty machine. It's an upgraded one. It's the 6650, so if you want to Google that, it's going to be on. But I'll also post some links along the way of what I'm sewing on here today. The Serger is going to be on TSC in September. It's also available on Amazon if you want it right now. Right now I think it's the same price. I'm not sure what TSC is going to have it on for, but right now I think it's the same price. What's TSC? That's the shopping channel. So it's like HSN, but it's the shopping channel in Canada. Okay.
She's a paper crafting friend.
Yeah, paper crafting friend. That's good. I'm glad you guys are watching. Maybe you'll be inspired to sew something up. Okay, so I'm going right around this part right here. That shoulder. Now, with a serger, normally you'd have to lift, with a sewing machine you'd lift up the presser foot, but with the serger you can lift the presser foot with your thumb from the top, and you actually don't need the fabric to be right under the needle. In fact, you don't have to do that at all. The feed dogs are so good, it's going to grab, look at that, it'll grab that fabric right from the start. And again, it's trimming off over here. This is all the excess that it's trimming off.
Cheryl will be showing a preview before TSC.
If I'll be showing a preview, yes. Monday I will be live again on, but I'll be on my Crafters Companion page, and I'm going to run through all the products that are going to be on TSC on Monday. So you just want to make sure you're not stretching the fabric too much. You don't have to go super fast along the curve. See how it's snipping off that edge, leaving everything nice and aligned. Try not to run over your pins. When you flip this out, now we're starting to see it really take shape. It's starting to look like a real t-shirt, eh? I'm going to do, at some point, a little cover stitch right along there. In fact, I could do that now while it's all opened up, but I'll finish the other arm and then I'll do that. Okay, so let's pin the other arm on now. Okay, do you guys have any questions about how this is going? Feel free to shout them out. Remember again, and Olga, you just tell me if anyone has a question.
Yeah, we had a lot of comments so far. People all saying where they're from. So we've got people from all over the world: California, Hawaii, Denver.
California, Hawaii, Denver. Awesome.
Yes.
Where's the furthest person? Everyone give us a comment on where you're from. And just a reminder, I am going to give away this yardage of knit. It's from Sarah Jane and Michael Miller. And it's from Funky Monkey Fabrics. And if you're looking to get into a little t-shirt making, or if you've never sewn with knits, if you use the code Tryon Summer 10, Funky Monkey Fabrics is going to give everybody 10% off. So that's pretty fun.
So Kathy was also asking what the cover stitch machine is.
So the cover stitch machine, it's a good question. So the cover stitch machine is sort of like the polisher. It's the thing that the dentist uses at the end to give it that nice ding, but it's not the nitty gritty like scraper machine. It's the thing that if you have to live without one, you could live without the cover stitch. However, the cover stitch machine will make you the most happy because it finishes your knits. Like, I can't even believe I waited so long to get one. It's so exciting. It allows for this beautiful finish on one side, either a single stitch finish, a double stitch, or my machine will do even a triple line on the top. But there are less expensive machines, like Janome has a less expensive cover stitch machine that will still do 2 threads on top. This one will do 3, and it allows you to maintain the stretch behind, but have a more polished look up front. So again, like I showed at the very beginning of the live, I can show you again on my shirt, but once we get there, it'll all kind of make sense. But if you look at your own shirt, especially if you're wearing a t-shirt right now or a sweatshirt, just turn the cuff of your shirt inside out. I bet you see a line of stitching on one side of your shirt, and then on the back side, a whole whack of stitches that you can't quite make sense of. That's the cover stitch. And then up the seam, like up the body of your shirt, you'll see that same kind of looking mess of stitches. That's the serge stitch.
So we got people from California, Chicago commenting again. Susan saying that she hasn't watched you in a while and it's nice to see you.
Oh, that's nice. Hi, Susan. Thank you for watching.
And Tony has a question.
Sure.
Jen, what would you use the cover stitch for aside from this t-shirt? Does it get a lot of use?
So at first I was like, all t-shirts, what else would you use the cover stitch for? But you'll slowly find that you'll cover stitch down the seam of your pants. If you're garment making, like if you're gonna make clothes, an apron, I even used it on pillows. You will do that finishing sort of stitch if ever you're working with stretchy fabrics. So it's not that you can only do t-shirts, it's that if you're gonna use a stretchy fabric, the cover stitch machine is just gonna finish it beautifully. We're gonna get there in just a minute, so hang in there, you guys. The next stitch I'm gonna do is gonna be on the cover stitch, so you're really gonna get to see what I mean. All right, I'm serging around this corner here. And just go slow, don't run over your pins. And you see how this kind of looks a little uneven? I'm not going to worry too much about that. The machine's just going to trim that for me, and then when it gets to the other side of the machine, you can see everything is nice and even. That's the beauty of the serger. That's what you wouldn't get if you were doing this on a regular sewing machine. Although you could use your stretch stitch on your sewing machine, but I can tell you, it's just a little tougher, and you'll just kind of, you'll fight with it a little bit more, but you can do it. So try not to pull too much on your fabric as it's going in through, especially at the end, so you get a nice straight seam. If you pull too much on it, you might end up with a point. So just try not to pull too much. That's a little tip. Okay, so when I'm turning this right side out now, you can see we've got all the makings of a t-shirt. It just needs the body kind of sewn together now. But before I put the arms together, I'm going to use a cover stitch just on the shoulder seams. This is just going to make for a nice high quality stitching. And that's just going to mean that the little seam here isn't going to pucker up. It's going to lay nice and flat on the shoulders. So I'm going to take this over to the cover stitch, and then you're going to get to see what I really need. Now, the only thing with the cover stitch machine that's a little different than what you might be used to is that you're only going to see the top stitches. The two, so you can see I've got a double needle here. And just bear with me, let me sew, and then it's a very short seam anyway, so I'll sew it and then I'll show you. So there's 2 needles going down. I can feel it's going over top of my serge seam. That's what I want, to tack that serge seam down. And I'm just going to pull it off the edge. Where did it go? Here we go. Okay, so you can see, now I've got this little row of double stitches there that are stretchy because the back looks like this. It did that on the back. Can you believe that? I don't know how it does that, to be perfectly... Well, I'm sure there's some sort of YouTube explanation, but I think that's truly amazing that you can see it doing those perfect little polished stitches up front, and then it gives you all of that stretch of the serger underneath. So again, on the other shoulder seam, I'm just laying that, I can feel that my serged edge is flat to the left. I can feel it under there, and I'm going to put those 2 needles right down into that serged edge. Now you're going to come off the cover stitch machine with lots of threads. See this? Just cut them all. There's far more threads being used, all 4. And with the cover stitch machine, I'm just going to open it up so you can see in here. You've got lots of options for stitches, and they tell you right under the cover, at least with this Janome machine they do, exactly how to thread it to get this more chain-like stitch, to get a chain stitch in the middle, or really up high. And then if you need lots of stretch and you need your stitch to be wide, you're going to only use needles 1 and 3, or 1 and 5, 3 and 5. So you choose the look that you want, and then it'll show you exactly how to thread it. There's a little guide right here. It's less complicated to thread than the serger, much less complicated. It takes about half the amount of time to thread as the serger does. How are we doing out there, Olga?
So yeah, Tony is saying thanks. If I sew with a lot of knit, that would be a good addition to my serger. Kathy Richard Sanders saying keep her crafting friend. She says watching from Temecula, California, about an hour north of San Diego.
Awesome.
Humid and overcast today.
Is it hot outside? I haven't been outside today. How's it doing here? We're all stuck in the basement. Where do you guys sew? Living room? Dining room table? Do you have a sewing room? Do you have a craft room? Where do you do your crafting? I always like to know where people set up all their stuff. Okay, so I've pinned under the armpit here. Just put 1 pin, just so that I maintain that like angle and I know where to kind of make that turn. I don't really need to pin the whole rest of the way because I can line that up as I'm going. And that's what I'm going to do on both sides. And then the structure of the t-shirt is pretty much done. Then you're just literally hemming the seams. I mean, am I under an hour? We're almost there.
Cheryl Karen says she's sewing from her room.
Sewing from her room. Yeah. She has a sewing room?
Sewing room. Just
Sewing room. That's lucky. We're lucky to have sewing rooms. I know for a long time I dug the machine out of the closet and brought it to the dining room table. And then it would like live there for like weeks and weeks while I attempted to finish whatever I was making.
Dining room too.
Yeah, lots of dining rooms. That's a good one. So now I'm just doing the big long sew from basically, oh gosh, you can see me sweating already. Big long sew from here all the way down. The big long sew. And it's all one piece there. Don't sew over your armpit pin. That's funny, armpit pin. And just make sure everything's staying nice and even. You don't want one side kind of tucking in there.
Tom's took a quarter of his living room and set up gallery style.
Oh yeah?
Table, yeah. As a cutting table.
Oh, that's so good. Well, you guys are probably reading the comments. You have to set it up wherever you can, you guys. And I can tell you, if you leave your sewing machine out and threaded, you're much more likely to use it. You're much more likely to, you know, finish that project, or you're much more likely to repair things. Because I keep my sewing machine and stuff out, I'm constantly running downstairs, patching up the holes, and, well, running back up. So, yeah, if you can leave it out somewhere, you're much more likely to use it, and leave it threaded. making the turn in the armpit that you don't get a hole. I've had many a t-shirt holes in the armpit because I did a bad job of making that turn. So if anyone orders some fabric from Funky Monkey, I totally want to see it. I want to see what t-shirts you make. So you can use this the code Tryon Summer 10 to get 10% off knits. Right now until August, I think 9th, they're going to keep it open for, because not next week because I'm at TSC, but the week after that, I'm going to make little matching shorts to go with this. Look at this! It looks like a real t-shirt. I'm always amazed that it's like, so it's inside out, obviously, but, I mean, yay! Okay, now we still have raw edges, like on both arms and at the bottom, and that's what the cover stitch machine is going to totally take care of for us. So, let's turn it right side out. And maybe I'll just take a second and trim some of my big long serger threads so that they don't get wrapped up in the cover stitch threads. You end up with a lot of tails when you're using the serger and the cover stitch machine, but that's okay. Maybe it's a mistake, but I never tie off these seams. I know some people tie off their serger seams. They're obviously better sewers than me. I never do. Sometimes people use little fray check and liquid. I don't know. The serging's never unraveled on me yet. But I think that is best practice, but I never do it.
So Cheryl Karen bought from Funky Monkey, great fabric.
That's awesome! That's great! I'm glad for you, Cheryl. You're gonna get, and Funky Monkey delivers like super fast. I ordered mine and it was there like, I want to say almost the next day. It went out so fast. So, Melissa at Funky Monkey, she's on top of it. Plus, it's a local business in Ontario, and so if you're Canadian, but they do ship to the US, so you can totally still shop from them. Plus, US people will get so much bang for their buck if you shop from Canada. We, on the other hand, when we try to buy fabric from the States, oh man, do we get gouged. Okay, so I'm just turning this up about an inch, not even. I'm not even like taking real super care to measure this because honestly, it's a child's t-shirt. It doesn't have to be perfect. And I can mostly eyeball, right, except for a skirt hem. That I totally messed up. And if you're doing this at home, you could touch the hot iron to your seam here. That would help. Make sure everything stays nice and crisp. I'm just going to add a couple of pins so it doesn't roll too much. When you leave a knit, it tends to roll.
Pattern has been shown on the picture yesterday.
So the pattern that was on the picture yesterday is what I'm using today, which is the classic ringer tee. I'll put a link up. It's the classic ringer tee from Peekaboo Patterns, and you can just download it. I think it's less than $7. And it's really, really easy to follow. There's a whole like tutorial instructions with photos. Although I'm doing exactly what they're telling you to do right here. You can refer to this. This video will stay posted too. Okay, and now I'm going to take this to the cover stitch machine. And this is really where your stuff starts to look pro. So I like to start just on the end here. Not on the seam, just over it. And you can kind of feel, and there's some notches on the front here where to line up your inside seam, but it is a little bit of guesswork. I will give it that. But whatever. I can't forget to do the neckline. I still have to do the neck. Don't run over your pins. So I just want to show you here. You can see this coming off. The nice serge stitch at the underneath. And then that double stitch in the front. So that's the tail. I'll snip that. But look at what great coverage you get. And then the outside is really where this hits it out of the park. Because that's what a shirt from the store has, that typically homemade shirts don't. Okay, I'm going to do the same, just turning under with the sleeves. And again, you'll just press that with the iron once you get it done. So I'm going to just turn over the sleeves, about a 1/2 inch. And I'm going to pin it. For this, I tend to like to put the pins long ways, even though I never pin long ways. But because knits tend to roll, I just find it helps keep it a little bit flatter. But you do whatever you like to do. If anyone's just tuning in, this is part of my summer sewing series. We're going to finish it in September. National Sewing Month is in September, and we're going to be on TSC. I'm going to have the Serger on there and a bunch of cool sewing machines. And that's going to be on September 25th. So try not to sew over the other side that's coming back through. I've done that before. So that's a really professional looking sleeve, even if it does go down and back up a little bit. It's okay. All right, other side too. So you can see the cover stitch machine is not hard to use, you guys. It's just intimidating a little bit because we're not used to it. But I've found it actually pretty easy to use.
So Cynthia is asking, what kind of machine are you sewing the house with?
So this is the Janome Cover Pro 2000 CPX. I can put up a link, but if you just take a little shot here, this is what the front looks like. This is the 2000. There's 1000 and 900. And they're all cover stitch machines. They all work great. This one just does a 3-thread stitch on top. And so it's a little bit higher price point, does a little bit more. But if you're just getting into wanting a cover stitch machine, the 900 or the 1000 would do great also. So I can put a link up for those so you know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm trying to convince Janome and TSC to bring a cover stitch machine there, but maybe someday, maybe someday. Let me know, would you want to see that on the shopping channel, a cover stitch machine? That it would be good feedback for everyone to hear if that's something you guys would be into. Okay, you guys, our shirt is done, all but the neckline and trimming all the little hairs off. So the neckline, I'd say, is the most, it's not difficult, but it's the most difficult part. It's the part that's the most finicky. So, is this, I have 2 here. Do I just need one or what's happening?
You just need one.
Okay.
The longer one.
Yeah.
The one that's been
Okay, so you want to fold the neckline in half. This way you're doing it wrong sides together. So press this when you're doing it so that it stays a little bit straighter, but this is the one that is ironed. We did 2. This is the one that's ironed, but is it going to be long enough? That's fine. Okay, so you're going to serge the 2 ends right sides together. Is the iron on? I might need it. I'm going to ask Tamara to get me the iron, just because I think I could flatten this out a bit. All right, I'm going to serge those right sides together and then turn the right sides out.
Great, thanks. Have used Serger before, but I haven't seen this.
Yeah? Okay, so once you've got this tube that's already a neckline, I'm going to take the little iron and ironing pad here. Thank you. I'm going to just flip it and just give it a little press so it stays a bit straighter. Thank you. I've got Tamara behind the camera today, and she's running lots of, or she's doing the switching between the cameras, and she's doing lots of double duties. Okay, I'm just gonna, oh yeah. Have you guys tried these wool ironing pads yet? They're kind of, they're good, but they smell. I was so gung-ho to get one because I thought, oh, it's so small and portable. And all I can smell whenever I use them is like the barn. Like you can smell the sheep that it came off of. I swear, wait, if the phone had smell-o-vision, you'd be smelling some sheep from somewhere very rural. All right, I'm just gonna, this doesn't have to be perfect. It's just to kind of give it a bit of structure, because the knits are so wild. And this is why knits are sometimes hard to sew with, because they roll, they're a bit finicky, and that's why some people just don't bother with them at all. All right, so this is gonna be the neckline. Now, I'm gonna give you a big, huge tip, and I don't know if this is like what a real sewer, I mean, I guess I'm a real sewer, but I'm not a professional, but maybe a professional garment maker would say this was wrong, but what I have found this has helped me. And I learned it the easy way actually. I forgot to re-engage the knife on the serger when I was doing the last neckline, because the necklines I've always found to be the hardest. And then I disengaged the knife And I was like, oh, this is the best neckline I've done so far. And that's because it wasn't cutting as it was going. And because it's such a small piece here, like it's only like about an inch, you know, if you're cutting off any amount, you know, you don't have very much left to work with. So when you disengage the knife, it's just going to encapsulate everything you've got there. So it's your choice. Engage the knife, don't engage the knife, just do what feels right. So this time we're working right sides together. And I'm going to put the back seam with one of the shoulder collars. I'm actually not putting it at the back, but you could put it at the back if you wanted. I'm going to put it with the shoulder collar. So open it up. It's like save the best for last, right? This is like the hard part, and we've breezed through the rest. So let's hope this is a breeze too. And you're going to want to pin. And you will have to stretch the neck a little bit so that it fits around the opening of the hole. It's like that with all t-shirts. The neck just is cut a little bit smaller, so it forces you to stretch it so that it maintains its shape. It's not an error in your cutting of the pattern. So just be warned that the neck will automatically be a little bit smaller than the neck hole. So it will be up to you when you're taking this around the serger to give the underneath the neck a little stretch as you're sewing along. And that's why putting the neck on is just a little tougher than sewing the rest of it. And you can even stretch it a bit as you're going and pinning so that you just make sure it's going to fit all the way around. So I'm stretching that neck a little bit more even than I am the shirt. Sewing live, you guys, it's not always super fast. I'm trying to do this in as much real time for you guys as possible so that you see exactly the process and how to do it. So there's no way to fast forward through this, although you're welcome to if you're watching this on the replay. Leave me a comment if you're watching live or if you're watching on the replay. Then I know how many people are in right from the get-go and who's watched it later on in the day. That's helpful.
Diana said, try to sneak watch on this at work. No
Oh.
So we'll have to watch it when she gets home.
Put your earphones on. Cover your earbuds with your hair. Although if she has to like deal with a customer, I'm not sure what she does, but she could get in trouble. All right. So now I'm going to serge this with the neck part that I cut on the bottom. See how it's on the bottom and the shirt part is on the top? And I'm doing that so that I can use my finger and thumb here to stretch it a little bit, but leave the top nice and flat. That way, you don't want to stretch both. You just want to make sure the neck stretches enough so that it fits all the way around the t-shirt hole. And you don't all have to do it in one swoop. Stop and start, reline things up, that's totally fine. Pay special attention when you're going over the seams, the shoulder seams, like the humps. It'll be a little bit. And see, I'm coming back around to where I've started, just making sure that everything's nice and even. The top and the bottom, I've got just enough. I've stretched it just enough so that it's even. right off the edge. Yay!
Corinne is asking to please give us the pattern name again.
The pattern name, and just put up a link.
I will.
Yeah, is the Ringer Tee from Peekaboo Patterns. And so you can download that, and we're going to put a link up right now. So if you're watching in the comments, we'll put a link up so that you can easily download it. And then we'll also put up a link to the grown-up version. So that's the one I've got on, and it's called the, what's it called again? The Santa Fe from Peekaboo Patterns. And I just added a little cuff to the bottom of it so that it would have a little burst of color. Okay, so you can leave this as is. It's super cute and like a perfect little t-shirt. But since we have the cover stitch machine, I'm gonna go ahead and do that double stitch around the neck. So, cause see how it's sort of lying like this right now? I can iron it, but see how the serge sort of starts to flip up there? If I do the cover stitch around and do the double stitching, it's gonna lay nice and flat. So that's gonna be my last step, and then we're gonna be done.
So Teresa is saying, love your feet. Going to have to check out the cover stitch machine. Was using double needles for years. This is so much easier from Campbellford, Ontario.
Amazing! It is so much easier. I totally hear you on the twin needle. You think it's doing the job, but honestly, when I tried this, I was like pretty blown away at how easy it was to use, and honestly, how impressed with myself I was. I texted you, right, tomorrow, like, look what I did, and you were like, okay. But I was just so happy because for years you deal with like puckering hems or not sewing with knits because they're tough. And once I got this, it was really, really awesome. If anyone has any questions about this or any other crafts for that matter, feel free to leave me a message on my Facebook page. I'm happy to try to help you out. It also really helps me if you like and share this feed. The Facebook algorithms are tough, and I want to make sure that this goes out to lots of people. So I'm just making sure I'm turning, keeping it nice and flat. I can feel that serge seam underneath there. And I'm just making sure it's lying flat and getting those two needles right inside.
Judy says hi from Pensacola, Florida.
Oh, hi Judy! I'm glad you could join in. All right, let's take a look. All right, now look at that neckline and how nice and flat it sits. Like no poking up. You barely even see. You've got that nice stitch all in the back, and then that is what you see on the outside. That's a big difference. And this is the really remarkable thing, because if you were doing this even with a stretch stitch on your sewing machine, you would not get that much give. All right, I'm going to trim all those little extra threads now, and we're done.
Valeria is watching from South California and says it's looking good.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I wonder which of my girls is going to fight for this shirt. You know, I always have to make two of a lot of things. I made two of these lemon ones. The other one that she's already been wearing upstairs. I made myself one of these lemon ones, and I wore it on TSC last time I was on. This was the finished of the, or no, I finished one on the air at the shopping channel, and then this one's the one I made for my other daughter. We also made like this cute confetti one where I did like just a cuff on the sleeve, like with the opposite. I bought the fabric in two-way colorways. So just to add that little extra punch of color. And then this fabric I just thought was so cute, spoke for itself. Nice floral, summery. It's gonna look great with a little pair of navy shorts. And that's what I'm gonna make when we are back here on August, what is it, 6th? That we're gonna do the next?
7th.
August 7th. I'm gonna use the cover stitch machine again, and I'm gonna make shorts. And kids shorts, adult shorts, they're all sort of made the same way. I'm going to also use a pattern from Peekaboo Patterns. So if you're looking at them and scrolling online there, the short pattern I'm going to use is the School's Out shorts. And I've made them for my son, I've made them for both of my daughters. It's totally interchangeable and they're really super cute. So yeah, that's what I'm going to make next. So I hope you're inspired. What's up?
Yeah, Donna is asking Jen, did Ruby pick this fabric for you to do the t-shirt?
100%. I always ask the kids what fabrics they like when I'm shopping online, because let's face it, when you buy something for them at the store and they don't like it, you can say, okay, well, I guess we'll return it. However, when you are sewing in the middle of the night and then you bring it upstairs and then the next morning they're like, I don't really like it. There's nothing you can do about that. You own it. So now I try to include the kids in most fabric choices. Although I did make shorts for my son out of the shark fabric, which I also got from Funky Monkey actually. And he was like, sharks? Sharks are for babies. And I was like, what? Since when? And I was like, no, these are surfing shorts. These are so cool for the beach. And it took him about a week, but he finally like came around and now he wears them sometimes. Anyway, I hope you guys have been inspired. I hope that you can see that making your own t-shirt, whether it's for yourself or your kids, is totally doable. And even though I know t-shirts are not that expensive, I mean, you can buy them at the grocery store for like $5 sometimes. There is a difference. It's very high quality fabric. They breathe, and you've made it yourself, which is amazing. And you can totally make them with your kids. You can see, it took me, and I'm doing it live and, you know, talking and I'm distracted, that you can sit down and do this quickly on a weekend morning and pump some out. Cut out a bunch of different fabrics all at once and then sew them all at once. One weekend, the next weekend, and then quick. You'll have 5 t-shirts and you don't have to buy anything except for fabric. So, any last questions before we wrap it up?
So we have a lot of commenters. So
Sure.
Sandra says, I cannot wait. I'm nervous about making shorts, so I cannot wait to see how to properly make them.
For sure. I'm going to take you through the shorts, for sure.
Beta saving awesome video, Jen. Thank you. Donna says, I used to make sweaters and never happened, so they always choose what they wanted. I think it's about kids. So a lot of people just saying thank you and, you know.
Well, I appreciate you all tuning in. Thank you so much. It means a lot to me that you guys will be watching. And so if you like and share this feed, you will be entered to win this so cute Michael Miller fabric by Sarah Jane. It's magic and it's perfect for little shorts in summer. I love this, or even a t-shirt too. I always feel like dark shorts should be the darker one, the t-shirt should be the lighter. Like, don't you think this would go so cute together? I'm even hesitant to give this away because I love this so much for shorts, but I appreciate you tuning in, so I will give it away. Just like and share the feed. That means a lot to me. And I hope you'll follow me on Instagram and here on this Facebook page, and that you'll tune in next week when I'm on TSC paper crafting. So we will see you all then. Bye, everybody.